Be humble. Our next inductee is a Major General in the U.S. Army, Jerry D. Humble. His induction into Western Kentucky University's Hall of Distinguished Alumni is the latest in a long list of honors to a man who so honorably served his country. And I'm proud to have this opportunity to personally thank him for his service to our nation. Major General Humble began his career with the United States Marine Corps in 1969 after completing a successful athletic and academic career at Western. He went on to serve in Vietnam, Desert Storm, and in several other operations. He told his hometown newspaper, the Russellville News-Democrat, and the Democrat and Leader, that though he had some great leaders and role models to emulate, he always learned more from his subordinates than his superiors. I believe that willingness to learn from others, especially those in your command, is the mark of a great leader. Now General Humble is in charge of a new command. After retiring in January 2003, he accepted yet another call to service, this time as director of Tennessee's Office of Homeland Security. Governor Phil Bredesen cited Humble's long and distinguished record of protecting America when he made the appointment. He added, "Tennessee is fortunate to have a leader with such broad experience to lead our Homeland Security efforts." I echo that sentiment, and Western is fortunate to have him among the ranks of our distinguished alumni. Our next inductee, Major General Jerry D. Humble.
Major General Jerry Humble's last name may be a bit misleading. Mapping the accomplishments of this former WKU football player turned Marine takes much more than humility. Humble, a WKU linebacker in the mid to late 60s, credits his time on the Hill and the need to serve for steering the course of his life.
I came from a great football team. I was proud of being a student at Western. My whole family had graduated basically from Western. In my family, we serve. I wasn't going to do anything to avoid the draft. I didn't want to go. But also I'd heard these stories about Marines. I thought I was a pretty good football player and a tough young guy, so if I was going to go in the military, I was going to go with what legendary was the best. So I decided I was going to be a Marine. I went on into the Marine Corps and wound up staying 33 years, 10 months and 2 days. But that's something that stayed with me. I always call myself, as a leader in the military, a player coach, because I'd had that example set by some great leadership there in Western.
Humble's life partner of nearly 40 years, the former Margaret Hollingsworth, takes some of the credit for getting Humble to Western.
I graduated a year before Jerry, so I was here at Western a year before he came, and I would go to Russellville to his football games, and Coach Fikes would come. So Coach Fikes made friends with me, and we always joked that he recruited Jerry to come to Western through making friends with me.
Following graduation from Western in 1969, Humble was commissioned an officer in the Marine Corps. He went on to a distinguished 3 decades-long military career, rising to the rank of Major General. He served in Vietnam and in Desert Storm, among other operations, including a stint with the British Commandos, where he commanded a special operation unit and served as security and special operation advisor to the Department of State. Since his retirement from the Marine Corps, Major General Humble has been serving as Homeland Security Chief for the state of Tennessee. Humble's friends and colleagues agree that the Major General's player-coach approach, competitive, disciplined, compassionate, are key to his success.
I think the key to any good leader is to surround yourself with competent people. And I've kept up with Jerry's career, and we've stayed close over the years, and that's one thing that I've noticed about each one of his duty stations. He absolutely picks the cream of the crop to work for him. And then he sets high standards for those guys. And absolutely they have to work their butts off to keep up with him. As a result, he accomplishes just about everything that he's given to do.
I think General Humble has very strong leadership qualities, and he's very skilled and competent, but that's not enough for leadership. He has a personality about him that people are willing to follow. They're willing to trust him, and You need people like that, particularly in these public safety related positions where people are putting a lot of trust in you as governor, in your government, and in the person in this kind of a position.
Disciplined, competitive, determined, accomplished. The many facets of Major General Jerry Humble. But friends and colleagues are quick to point out the general's playful nature that seems to round out the picture.
One day I was working in the office on a Sunday afternoon, and I'd come down here by myself, and as I walked out in the parking lot, which is supposed to be a secure area, there was this big motorcycle cruising around in the parking lot. And I actually stopped and said, I'm not, what's this guy doing here? I looked more closely and it was General Humble. He was in his leathers and his helmet and on his motorcycle and making circles around the Capitol up here. And so I went down, we had a nice conversation, but it was a side of the man that I had not seen before.
I guess you would say I've always been on a team of some type since I was a little boy. And now I'm on the governor's team or the counterterrorism team, and I get to coach it in Tennessee. But nothing is successful without teamwork. And as I've learned it and sometimes talk about it, team stands for together each achieves more. And it sort of fits right into that spirit makes the master, or the attitude of being a winner. And doing what's right is important.
2004 Hall of Distinguished Alumni honoree, Major General Jerry D. Humble.
Well, Dr. Ransdell, thank you very much. And now I have the privilege of serving in another service that I hadn't served in before, the United States Army, and although I've commanded a lot of them. I must tell you all that standing before you, I truly feel humble. But Margaret will tell you that the only time I'm humble is when I'm asleep. I have a lot of people to thank. I truly believe what you heard about teamwork and those things. So I've got to thank a few people, and I'd like to do it in this manner. First is I've got to thank my family, my mother, my parents, who gave me some special things that's lasted all my life. One is a no-nonsense hard work ethic. Two is the value of serving others, which my father did. And of course, trying to do the right thing, always try to do the right thing with integrity. And then I have to thank, my high school experiences, where the first time I'd played on what I guess you'd say is a bigger team, small school, and just a lot of average, young people from a small town down the road called Russellville. And the mentors I've had during my life have made a difference. One is sitting right here, Mayor Wayman Morris of Owensboro, then when I was a young man, head football coach or the football coach at Russellville. And he imbued me with absolute toughness and the absolute drive to win. And we did, and I first saw what a group of common, average people could do with good leadership and good teamwork. We went to the state championship that year. Then somehow I came up here to Western. And to my teammates and my fraternity brothers and my classmates, I came away from Western with that spirit of something much higher. It was tough making that team from a little town, but we had such a good time, and I learned how to stay, dedication to friends, how to work together. I got a good education. Somehow I passed all my courses and graduated in 4 years, which none of our children have done. But I came away from Western very proud of what I'd been a part of. And although, I didn't really play on that theme of the spirit makes the master, I learned some things from a good mentor here too, several of them. But I learned the gentleman qualities that Coach Fikes put in us. I also learned something that greatly helped me in combat later on, and some of my dealings in operations and so forth was the indirect approach. You heard how he recruited me through Margaret, and that stuck with me. And from here, I must thank the Marine Corps. I was drafted by the Army when I was here. Actually, I was well, I was headed to law school, but that wasn't a deferment, so I accepted a head coaching job at Apollo High School over in Davis County. That lasted all 3 weeks when I got a draft notice from the United States Army. And I was so smart, and I had been a pre-law student, I thought, so I wrote my own request for deferment through the draft board, and I lost. So let me tell you, I dodged the draft by walking down and joining the Marines, and I was going to stay 3 years. Well, what I learned in the Marine Corps was some absolute great leadership. But dedication. People who would give their lives. It did. I also learned that to lead thousands, you must focus down, not up. But I tell you what, if it hadn't been for what I'd learned from Wayman Morris, my teammates and classmates, and how to have a good time with my fraternity brothers, and maybe either not get caught or just have a good time, I traveled the world, and I was able to function because of my education at the very highest levels. I mean, with our secretaries of state, secretaries of defense, and negotiate United States policy at the highest level of other countries. And I felt very proud to be able to do that coming from Western, and I was so proud of Western. You know, now I'm on the team in Tennessee, and I've got to thank my governor. He talked me out of what a great leader he is, or I wouldn't be there. He talked me out, and I lose, I think, quite a bit of money from doing other things to do this job. But he has backed me, and all that I've learned through the Marine Corps, at Western, at Russellville, and from my family, I've put into practice. And we call it the team of teams in Tennessee, of government, industry, and citizens. And it's working very well for us. And we do more than hope. We plan and we operate and we take steps. But it's a privilege to be able to serve again. And the last thing I must say is I have to thank my wife and my children. Again, they're sacrificing. We were just walking down, and I said, Margaret, how many times have we moved in the last 34 and a half, 35 years? We can't count them up. At the last count was 29. And dragging my family all over the world. And now, of course, we're Kentuckians, but I have to be a Tennessean to do that job over there. So what my message is, and my thoughts are, is it's all of you. I only received this honor because of all of you, and all those Marines. God bless you.
Our next inductee